It is a scam when you don't allow everyone to operate on fair terms.
We are the Robin Hoods of sports betting. We take something back from the rich bookies and enable our customers to beat them instead.
G'day everyone, welcome to our FIFA World Cup 2022. Not so much daily live streams on the Trademate Sports Betting podcast. Today we will be previewing the quarterfinals, which are Croatia versus Brazil, Netherlands versus Argentina, Morocco versus Portugal, and the big one, England versus France. As always, please send through your comments, any thoughts you've got on the games, any bets you've already placed or that you like, and we'll break them down for you and give our opinions on them. Already good to see Murphy's here, mate. Great to see you. He says evening, gents. Evening to you, Murphy. But joining me today is top right-hand corner of your screen, if you are watching, Paul from Feinting The Line. How are you, mate?
Good to be here with you guys. I'm great, Alex. Thanks.
And at the bottom, we've got Ryan Bruno, Pro Sports Bettor. How are you, mate?
Yeah, very good, mate. And kind of enjoying a day off from betting and trading, actually. But there's the big game tonight, Stockport and Charlton in the FA Cup. So, I've been watching that one.
Oh, mate. I mean, it was nice to wake up this morning and just get a nice night's sleep and not have to worry about, any World Cup that's going on. It feels a little bit empty, a little bit weird, but it's pretty crazy to think this has been the first day since the tournament started that we've had a day off. So very, very nice. Paul, mate, any quick thoughts on the round of 16 games that were the last couple of days? I mean, Portugal, very impressive. Trying to think of some of the other results that were quite shocking. I mean, Brazil smashing up South Korea, probably not the biggest shock, but yeah, any thoughts on those games? I actually, my biggest talking point is, Jesus, some teams suck at taking penalties. Spain and Japan were horrendous. They were hitting the ball at like 50% power and putting it in the one spot where the goalkeeper can save it if he picks the right side.
Yeah, you got to wonder if the moment kind of got to some of them.
Yeah.
A lot of like first kicker misses too. Like the first guy up there just comes up and bombs it, and then the next guy has just as much pressure, and bombs it again. That happened a couple times, like you said, with those teams. And the Morocco-Spain game, I'd say was pretty interesting. The Spain passes train is finally over. Got to wait till the next international break for that one. So, no, it was fun. Still a lot of goals in most of the games. The mug primer, the only one that missed on the over 2 for that mug parlay round robin that we threw together, was the one that I actually tipped up. Morocco, the Morocco-Spain game 0-0, and we got like insane CLV on that from when I tipped it up. It was like, I think it was like 15 ticks in on the Euro scale, like 1.71 to whatever it was, 1.5 something. By the time it kicked off, 1.56 or something. So, but
Yeah.
it was interesting games all around, and some incredible matchups in this next round for the quarterfinals.
Yeah, it really heats up now, doesn't it, mate? Other than maybe a few of the two of the games, especially Argentina, Netherlands, and England, France, is where it's great to see some of the big heavyweights going together and see who are the pretenders and who are actually decent teams for this competition. So let's get into it. We'll kick things off with Brazil. Already lots of comments flying through on Brazil at the moment. I think people are very high on them. And they continue to impress and prove why they are clear tournament favourites. But
comment section's really going out on a limb there.
They are
2.87.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, like we have stated a few times, they've been given a pretty handy draw at the same time. They've and once again they're coming up against the Croatia team who are probably one of the weaker sides of the last 8 and seem to be a level below at least what they produced in 2018, an aging team. And also they're coming up against Croatia here, have coming off a 120-minute performance versus Japan, which doesn't really help either. The odds for this one: Croatia 9.79, draw 5.07, Brazil 1.36, Asian handicap at 1.25, and the over/under at 2.5. So it's all kind of reflected in the odds, the narrative going into this one. So I'll start with you, Ryan, mate. Are you expecting another comfortable win for Brazil here?
Pretty much, to be honest. I've not been that impressed with Croatia. I thought that Japan were probably the better side. I think they were slightly better in that game. They just have a bit more energy about them, and I think the Croatian team, which is kind of a bit of an aging team, is probably going to feel that game coming into this match. Going into extra time and then penalties. And yeah, it's hard to see past Brazil. I don't really want to back them at the current odds. I don't see too much value there. I was looking at maybe backing them in the halftime market. Like I like to bet more in play. So look at the tempo for the first 10 minutes of the game. If the Brazilians are creating space and creating chances, I think you can get them at about 1.9 to be winning in the halftime market on Betfair. So that's possibly something that I'll have a look at. I had a look at win to nil as well. I got 2.3 on Brazil to win the match to nil. I thought there was a little bit of value there just because I don't think Croatia have looked that good going forward. Like the goal against Japan kind of came out of nowhere. I know they beat Canada 4-1, but that was kind of the outlier that we've seen from the Croatian performances, I think. And I think you kind of got to look at getting Brazil on side, but I won't be taking match odds because I do think that is too short.
Yeah, I could see it coming in, though, a bit more. I mean, it's just hard to make a case for Croatia. They've conceded so much. That defensively, they've looked quite poor. I mean, you look at that Belgian game. I think they conceded like 3 XG or something in that game. That's against like a Belgium side. And then we're talking about Brazil in this game. And then you look forward to the Japan game too. They conceded quite a bit of XG in that one too. So, yeah, you get the feeling that there are goals in this one for Brazil, but you never know. It could be a low-scoring game, a 1-0, 2-0 for Brazil. What are your thoughts on this one, Paul?
Yeah, I've got a couple bets here, and so the more non-liquid markets like passes and tackles, but I'm not going to break any ground here on any of these handicaps or over/unders in terms of analysis. I think Ryan laid it out pretty well for you guys there to maybe look at that maybe an in play like towards the middle of the first half if you see Brazil pushing, because we do know statistically that the goals in these World Cups are coming between that like 35, 38 and 45 plus added time and half mark. So I mean, I do love that angle in play if you want to look at that. But in terms of the handicaps or over-unders, the odds have been pretty static. There's been some little bit of action on Brazil. Minus 1.25 opened at more. It opened closer to evens at 1.95, and now it's more towards that 1.8 range at Pinnacle. So the match odds just aren't for me. But we've got a familiar bet that I'm going to go back to here in Brazil games with the props.
Yep. All right, mate. Well, why don't you hit us up with those props? I was very surprised to see that you thought that Brozovic might rack up the passes here. So maybe you want to start with that one and explain why, just because I would have thought, Croatia, naturally they're not a team that's going to, sit back and try and, be negative. But at the same time, Brazil just, dominate possession in most of their games. So, yeah, go through your bets for us.
Yeah, so I'll start, since you mentioned it, I'll start there with the Brozovic one. So yeah, at Bovada at the game screen, you can get minus 114 for over 68.5 passes, and at Bet365 you can get 1.83. And at 365, I would do a little ladder there for a little bit smaller stakes on 73.5, 78.5, and 83.5 at 4.33 and 7 for the higher alts there. And the reason I like it is you got to think about the game state. I do think the Brazilians may score one before half, and all that probably does is add to our bet. The team that goes down usually tends to get a spike in possession. So if you're looking at based on in terms of the odds, if Brazil were to nick a goal before the half, that's definitely a good thing for this bet. Brozovic has the most touches out of the Croatians, and Brazil as a team is such a direct style that the actual total Croatian passes lines, I think, are a little bit low based on perception, like you would say there. Brazil actually, because of their direct style, don't have the same possession statistics as like some of the other top teams in the world that you would think of, like Spain, for example, and things like that. There's just because they're so direct, that helps them in my eyes, that helps them win more games. I think they're more effective than a team like Spain because of that. But also, they do allow other teams to possess the ball a little bit more than you'd think. So yeah, I like Brozovic passes here. So the concerns are obviously that they played just a couple days ago, but that was 100 hours ago. And even though Brozovic played the whole full 120 minutes, he probably has the most in his legs out of that three Croatian midfield. Kovacic and Modric are always going to be subbed before him when you're thinking about some of these lines. So I think the game state might help us here, especially if the Brazilians could maybe nick a goal early. And yeah, I like Brozovic on the pass line there. I think a couple of the Croatians might be too short, but I think Brozovic is my main play there.
All right, nice. And you're also getting on with a familiar bet here with Brazil and tackles.
Yeah, so we've hit this, I think, 3 times now as a best bet on the on these streams in the World Cup. So I'm going back to the well, and like I said before, I said last time we took it, it's a little bit less value now because the books are simply catching on to the fact that Brazil is dictating these games, so the line is slowly ticking up each time it comes up. But we still have the knockout round bump here. There is more tackles in knockout round games statistically. I said reasons for that before, like the players are more concentrated. When they're going into the duels, they're less likely to pick up a yellow or something like that, especially if they're already on a yellow, because going forward, they would want to be in that biggest game of their life, in that semifinal or final. So they're less likely to pick up a yellow card. And though that might lead them into less ground duels, the ground duels that they're in, they're usually more successful in making a tackle. And if you look at the Croatians, they don't have a great rate, but I've already fired off all the Brazilian statistics in the other podcasts, and the Brazilians dictate the tackles. I think the game should be somewhat competitive. Like, I don't see Brazil cracking it open right at the start. So I think the Croatians can get a foot in, even though they don't normally tend to have a very high tackles rate. The Brazilians dictate them, as I said. And if you look at the comps, which the best one I would say is France in the Nations League versus Croatia, those games exploded for over 40 tackles. So the lines I'd be on here is Bovada at the game screen and Bet365 also over 35.5 tackles. It's an extremely high line. 36 is probably like 8 passes, 7 passes bigger than the normal line you'd see in most games, but everything points to the alt here for me being value. So I really like over 38.5. I'd put more in your stake on the riskier odds, because if the rate's not there from the start, the bet might miss anyways, because 36 is such a high line. So I really like the alternate lines a lot better. So like I love over 38.5 at Bet365 at 3s and over 44.5 for a longer shot at 8s. Yeah, I'm gonna get on that Brazilian tackles wagon again. And I dictate your shift your stakes a little bit to the alts here is what I'd like.
Okay, nice, mate. All right, we'll keep a look at that as that game is played out. But yeah, it looks like quite a. You would think Brazil should get this done reasonably comfortably, but I guess crazier things have happened. Let's move on to the second game on. I guess this is Friday night for all the European guys, which is Netherlands versus Argentina. Netherlands at 3.71, the draw 3.16. Argentina 2.26. Asian handicap at 0.25, and the over-under is quite low there at 2.0. Yeah, Argentina coming off that 2-1 win over Australia, the Dutch beating the USA 3-1, but the Dutch kind of continue to look unfavourable when it comes to XG. I looked up their XG for the tournament, and the only team that they've comfortably beat has been Qatar, which was in that last game of the group. So they're definitely riding their luck a little bit, but we kind of know that this is kind of the style of Netherlands. So maybe it's like half planned in some way. They're clinical. They are taking their chances, but I still don't really think Argentina deserve to be this solid of favourites? What do you think, Paul? Do you think Argentina? I mean, Argentina are like mostly untested still. Their group was pretty weak in general compared to some of the other groups, and they beat Australia, who were, I mean, coming into the tournament, one of the worst rated teams, although they overperformed. But yeah, do you kind of think that maybe Argentina are slightly being overrated here?
Yeah, I don't know if exactly. I'm not gonna have a bet on the actual game odds, but I'm gonna get my big boy pants on and go for the over-unders on this game.
Wow.
Yeah, incredible, right? But I mean, if I was gonna side with a team, I'd probably side with Netherlands at the odds currently. They've been pretty static on the Asian handicap. You're getting plus quarter of a goal at evens or so for Netherlands. That's pretty much what it's been since open, and that's the same with the over under. But I'm gonna go for that over under market, and I'm gonna take over 2. I'm gonna gobble that up at 1.86 right now on Pinnacle.
Oh wow.
1.86 over 2, and I'm gonna
Yeah.
go. And as I always say, I'm not the expert in the liquid market, so make sure your prop plays for me if you can, get what you can down on those before you go for these. But I'm also going to split my stake here, like a small stake split with over 2 3/4 at 3.09, because I could see this one cracking open. I could easily see 3 goals at least for a half payout. I think both of these defenses honestly are just shaky for me, and like the Netherlands, I don't think they've been properly tested yet either.
No.
For me, and that back line, I just don't trust it. I don't trust the 3 back. I don't trust they're just gonna let everybody play on to them. That's their whole plan. I mean, that might be their plan, but I don't think that'll win them a World Cup. And I don't trust the Argentinian back line either per se. Like Otamendi you can get in behind Otamendi like with one run, which is like those pacey Netherlands wingers. They're going to be hitting those runs, those sweeping runs right into Otamendi's little channel, I think, on the counter. So I'd see goals both ways, and if you get an early one, it could be handbrakes off and see you later is my take. So yeah, I like a small stake on the over 2 at 1.86, and then split that with the over 2 3/4 at 3.09. Both of those prices at Pinnacle right now. But I'm going to have some heavy props, but I'm really curious to hear what you guys have to say about the handicaps and whatnot, and how it relates to my overs play there.
Yeah, fire away, Ryan. What are your thoughts on this? I do like Netherlands plus 0.25 on the handicap, and like Paul was saying, the over under. I'm just a bit surprised as to why it's so low. Do you have any thoughts on why it might be as low as it is?
I think it's just because you're getting 2 fairly evenly matched teams. If you look at the France and England game as well, under 2.5 goals is favoured there. So I think when you've got 2 sides that are quite even, the market generally thinks that they're going to play it quite safe, I suppose, and tentative, and it's not going to be like a free-flowing game. But they kind of thought that in the Portugal-Switzerland game as well, which obviously turned out to be the opposite. Once you got that first goal, obviously you just saw a lot more in that game. So I think that's the reason. And I'm not big on historical data, so I don't know what the historical data says between 2 close sides, but I think there's a lot of draws. The draw tends to be favoured in that scenario as well, or that's often the value bet. So perhaps it's that as well. But when I just look at this game from kind of my own analysis, I kind of agree with you guys in that I didn't really see Argentina as being a big favourite. Neither team is like super impressed, to be honest. I think they've both got through with like individual kind of individual pieces of brilliance, I suppose, with like Gakpo has had a really good tournament. And obviously Messi's been chipping in with goals for Argentina, but neither side have really looked too fluid, and they've not really blown any team away that I've seen. So the bet that I was looking at was delay Argentina at 2.32 or back Netherlands 0.5 Asian handicap, and then assess things in play. Like I say, I do think this game will be closer than the odds indicate. And what you see in a lot of these games is when that is the case, you'll see Argentina's price drift pretty quickly. You might see them go from 2.3 to 2.5 within like 10 minutes. When that happens, if you're on the exchanges, you can start to kind of reduce your liability by backing Argentina at a bigger price as the game goes on. And I think that's a good way to look at this game. Another one would just be to look at the kind of bookmaker boost as well. So obviously, whenever you get Messi in a game, his first goal, anytime goal, all these types of bets, Messi to have like one shot on target, two shots on targets, they all get boosted by multiple bookmakers, and because they're getting boosted there, that inflates the exchange price. So you'll be able to get a better price on the exchange than its true odds, basically, because you've got all this lay money from arbitrage bettors pushing the price up. So that's something that I do a lot on these games as well. So yeah, like if you look at like Messi first goal scorer, it might be 5.5, and the true odds are probably like 5.2 or something like that. So that's something to be aware of, is look at where the bookmakers are boosting prices, and then have a look on the exchange, and you're probably going to get some value there as well.
Yeah, great stuff, mate. Yeah, I like the angles you got for those ones. For myself, like I said, yeah, I'm happy to bet Netherlands 0.25. You can get that about evens right now on the sharper markets. Like the boys have said, I don't think Argentina, I mean, both have not been very convincing, but I just don't think Argentina have been convincing to the point where you would have them as this bigger favourites. And I also think the Brazil game being before, Brazil most likely win, I feel like there's a possibility they could have one eye on the semi-final and be thinking too much. Obviously, they'll respect the Netherlands and want to get through them first, but I think everyone's hyping up that semi-final already, and they've got a bloody tough task on their hands against the Netherlands. So just worried that they could potentially have one eye on the dream semi-final against the other South American side in Brazil. And have their eyes slightly off. I like the draw in this too, but yeah, if you get Netherlands plus 0.25, at least you get paid out half a winner there if it does end in a draw. But yeah, Paul, you got some prop bets, mate?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm gonna take Enzo Fernandez, the young center defensive mid for Argentina, on the passes over 75.5, 1.9 at the Bovada game screen, 1.83 at Bet365. Ladder it up for over 85.5 all the way up to over 90.5, 4.33 and 7 are the prices there. I think you could take the main line up to 80. I haven't looked at other providers, so I don't know exactly what you're getting there, but I'd take the main line there up to 80. 1.83 minimum price. Adams, Tyler Adams. Now some of this was because of the game state, but for the USA, he had 80 passes against the Netherlands in the same position last game. So I'm expecting Fernandez to rack. The Argentinian center defensive mid was priced closer to this in their other games. Obviously, they haven't played a team as good as the Netherlands, but I see Argentina getting a lot of the ball again here anyways. So even if they score first here, I don't think it's necessarily gonna dictate our bet like the normal game states would, because I can't see Netherlands just latching on against Argentina too much to the ball. So I really like this one. So that would be my bigger bet on this game, would be Enzo Fernandez on the passes. And then I have one more, and it's not my usual market, so I'm kind of dipping my toes into different waters here. But this price was also a little bit bigger for the guy for Jurrien Timber in previous games, the Netherlands center back, but he was like above evens for 2 fouls at any flutter books like Paddy, Betfair, Poker Stars, I think too. But now they've got him at 1.67, but I think it's still takeable to about 1.6. He's had at least 3 fouls in each of his games. So you got 100% click rate so far in the World Cup, and you're only asking for 2 here against an Argentinian attack that can, I think, provide some impetus to this bet. So it's a nice back for me, that one as well. I'd be heavier on the passes bet, but I do like this one because in that 3-back system under Van Gaal, he's always flying up to mark his man high, and he's always clipping in at the heels, and he kind of flails his limbs about a little bit. If you've like watched the highlights of the other game, that's a nice little narrative thing that I'll throw in there. But Sky still haven't opened yet on this price, so maybe you could get a price there too. But last I looked, right before the pod or right before the stream, Flutter had that price at 1.67. Take it down to 1.6. Jury and Timber 2+ fouls.
All right, good stuff, mate. Got Murphy here. He thinks Argentina win 2-1. So that's Murphy's thoughts on this one. But we'll move ahead to the next day's games, which are kicking off with Morocco versus Portugal. You got Morocco at 5.68, the draw at 3.76, and Portugal at 1.7. The Asian handicap is at 0.75 and the over-under at 2.25. Yeah, Portugal really put the competition on notice with that resounding victory over Switzerland, but Morocco are no easy beats, as they have shown. Their defence has been very impressive, but you would think against this Portugal side they're going to have to score goals, as you know, Portugal have scored goals in just about every game they've played, and they created a million chances against Switzerland. But yeah, Morocco, in terms of scoring goals, they've been one of the worst in the tournament. I looked up their XG over 4 games yesterday, and they haven't even created 2 XG over 4 games. So, yeah, it's a huge worry going into a game like this, especially expending as much energy as they did to against Spain over 120 minutes. So, at the same time, I do think Portugal 1.7 is maybe looks a little. It could be. This is like, I'll start with you, Ryan. This could be a classic overreaction to a performance, because you know Portugal 6-1 scoreline. It looks like they were just incredible, which they were. They were as clinical as it gets. But Switzerland were obviously quite poor defensively, and you know in some of these games, once you score 1 goal, it can really, it can sometimes get very out of hand. So the 6-1, you know, it's not like it's a logical follow-on to the next game, if you get what I mean. But yeah, what do you think, Ryan?
Yeah, it's something like that Jonas said like a while ago. It's like if you ask the average man on the street who's going to win, Morocco or Portugal, you're probably 9 out of 10 guys are going to say Portugal are going to win 2-0, 3-0. And a team coming off a 6-1 victory like that is often going to kind of be overbacked, or it's much more likely to be overbacked than underbacked. But I mean, Portugal are bigger than Spain. I think Spain went off at about 1.65. But about an hour before the game, or a few hours before the game, they've been backed into about 1.57, and then the Morocco money came quite late. So I imagine that was sharper money that came on Morocco. And I think you might see that in this game. I could see Portugal definitely getting back down to like 1.63, 1.64, and then closer to the game coming out again. And also in that Morocco-Spain game, within like the first 20, 25 minutes, the Spain price was rocketed. It went to about 1.9, and that's the thing with this Moroccan side, is they've got a really high work rate. They've got that they've got like almost a home crowd behind them, and they do have some quality in Hakimi and Ziyech, and they've got is it En-Nasri up front as well. I think he's the Sevilla forward. So and Bouffal's been playing well. He's had a good tournament, and I think Amrabat's looked really good as well. So they do have some quality combined with that high work rate. I think they are a good side, but it might just be a little bit too much now. Like you say, they expended a lot of energy in that Spain game, and they were lucky, I suppose, to win on penalties. Sarabia hit the post, didn't they? Like in the final minute of extra time, and they kind of rode the luck a little bit. But if I had to pick between the two, I still would be looking at probably laying Portugal, but not at the current price. I want to see some money come and back them. And if I can maybe lay them, like I say, about 1.62, 1.63. At that range, then I'll be looking to take that in play and then do as I have done, because I've been backing Morocco throughout this tournament, and they've been doing very well, and I've made good money from them. But like I say, it might be a step too far, but that would be the side that I'll be looking at. I'll be kind of looking at Morocco closer to the game, because I think that they're probably going to be the value side.
Yeah, and I think a thing that adds to the Portugal narrative, not only did they get a humongous win against Switzerland, they also dropped Ronaldo. So people could be thinking that, they've sat Ronaldo down and they put players in that are going to, work better together for Portugal and produce better results. And straight away they get this big 6-1 victory. So people could really be almost overreacting to the, Ronaldo coming out and what was the fella called, Ramos, that came in. So, yeah, people could be overreacting to that too. What are your thoughts, Paul?
Yeah, I think the most important point Ryan made there, that's just that you got to bake in that home field advantage for Morocco here. It's incredible to me. Like we talked about this on a previous podcast, Alex. I don't think probably the market or enough bettors and things like that probably factored it in enough to some of those African teams where it's just literally a home field advantage. And if we're looking at a normal betting market, that's obviously moving the market by a significant amount. So I just don't think that was baked in enough. And if you're going to bet that game, I would just make sure you're factoring that in to the odds you're getting. I don't have a bet for this one. I've got both teams to score no question mark written down at 1.78. But at the same time, do I really trust the Moroccans, who probably were without Saiss, maybe without Aguerd, both of their center backs, maybe, and they just ran themselves into the ground to death. And then you got the Portugal side, who also, Danilo's out with a broken rib. That was their first choice center back. So do I trust Pepe and whoever else at the back? No, I don't. No ends up being the answer. So yeah, it's just a big no bet for me. A lot of the props haven't come out for this one yet, so yeah, I'm not in anything right now, so I'll hold off here.
Yeah, I looked at Morocco to score 0 goals. I think that was at like 2.15 or something on Pinnacle, and I was like, I can just see them defending the line, and sitting back. And I saw them counterattack a few times against Spain, and I'm imagining Pepe running back against, someone like Ziyech or Buffal, and I'm just like, it doesn't fill me with all the confidence in the world. And there's also the scenario that Portugal could just go out there and do a similar thing that they did against Switzerland and become a bit careless and concede a goal like they did against Switzerland too. So, yeah, I looked at this game every which way too and tried to find an angle, but I kind of like the angle of it maybe backing Portugal in play, like you said with the Spain odds against Morocco, Ryan. I could see a scenario where they could defend them for the majority of the game, and then just it just becomes maybe a bit too much as the game goes on, given their fatigue and all that kind of stuff. So, I think there's lots of ways you can break down this game, but maybe it's a stay out, fellas. But let's get on to the last game, the big one. Everyone's excited for this one, I'm sure. England versus France. England at 3.15, the draw 3.29, and France at 2.46. The Asian handicap at 1/4 goal, and the over-under at 2.25. Probably the biggest game of the quarterfinals here, at least the most popular one, I would think. Two sides that look pretty evenly matched coming into this, with resounding wins in the round of 16. We haven't really seen either of these sides come up against a really strong outfit, so it's hard to know each of their levels yet. I'm assuming that France are favourites for two reasons. One being Mbappe, clearly just being the best player in the tournament probably, and also the England defence just looks weak in comparison to France, at least, and I would say in comparison to a lot of the other heavyweights in this competition. I mean, I've sat here and shat on Harry Maguire quite a bit, but so it's no surprise really. And looking back, it's not like England have conceded many goals at all this tournament, but just the prospect of Mbappe versus Maguire, like, it wouldn't surprise me if Mbappe just made him look like an absolute idiot. But yeah, we'll start with you, Paul. What do you think, mate?
Yeah, I hate saying this because it's so annoying for probably the viewer, but I'm into a couple markets here and they've moved. So it's pretty annoying. I don't have anything on the liquid market. I was into over 2 at opener at 1.71, and it's all the way into 1.54. I'm not going to advise somebody to bet the overs now at that price. So if I had to choose a side, I'd probably favor the French. I'm not going to put anything official here, but if I had to choose a side at the prices, I would favor the French in one way. I was going to look at betting, like if you wanted to look at a bet. I'm not going to do anything official, like I said. Internet's going a little slow here. I might look at it maybe like if you're a little bit riskier, first half money line 3.29. Or I was going to look at like just to score a goal in the first half. That's not big enough. No, I like the money line. If you want to go like France first half money line 3.29, or if you just wanted to back the French, I think I just at the prices I would tend to lean that way. But like I said, that's not going to be an official bet. And I on the over unders, I think it's probably about right as it is currently. So wouldn't have anything there. Maybe if it's a cagey start, but both towards the end of the half, both teams might be getting chances. Then you look to enter goals. Then maybe if you're getting in live, maybe. But that's about it. I'd say on the liquid markets, I got some decent prop bets I can give out for this one though too.
All right, we'll come back to you, mate. We've got no Pataya for Shannon here. He thinks that Southgate reverting back to the back three is a possibility here. Do you think that is a possibility, Ryan?
It's always a possibility. I don't think he should do that. I think the team's been playing good enough as it is. I don't see why you should adapt. If you believe in your team, you don't want to adapt to your opposition too much. But yeah, like you say, Maguire's a bit of a worry when you've got kind of Dembele and Mbappe are going to be kind of charging down there. It's like, but obviously we've got Walker who's pacey, and John Stones himself is quite good at covering for kind of Maguire's lack of pace. And Maguire, he's good in the air defensively. He's probably one of the best guys in the tournament in terms of winning aerial battles. So he does have that. And he did cash me a big bet in the last game where Maguire to commit one foul was boosted to like odds of evens, and he managed to get a foul in. So yeah, I was quite happy with that in the last game. But yeah, it's a tough one for me personally, looking for a betting angle, because obviously I don't want my own bias to come into it, being from England. And I did see that over 2.5 goals opened at about 2.4, but it's come right into like 2.14 now. So it's kind of getting to the point where I don't know. It's one of them again where I'd like to assess the first 10 minutes of the game and see, if there is a lot of open space, see if England are trying to attack or if they are just kind of sitting back. And because Southgate can be quite negative, especially against the bigger teams, he does seem to set up his defense quite well. He sets up quite defensively and tries just to keep the ball a lot. So yeah, I don't have anything yet for this game. It's going to be one that I might not even bet. I might just enjoy it as an England fan and see how we do. It's tough to find an angle, I think, as Paul said as well. It's any value that was there initially seems to have been sucked up. So
yeah, I think both managers the way that each team's been playing, being quite reasonably positive lately. They're scoring lots of goals, but I could see them just not over respecting each other, but I could see the unders coming in like reasonably comfortably if they play to their like true revert back to their true kind of selves as managers. Southgate and Deschamps, like they are naturally pragmatic and like to be negative, I guess, in a way. So I think potentially they could respect each other quite a bit here and just and really not go for it. And, something like a halftime draw, I wouldn't steer anyone against, or like, under goals in the first half, something like that. But yeah, it's hard to get on board with the unders when England have, been like quite good in front of goal. And also, yeah, I just think that front line for France is so dynamic. They can throw anything at you. Like they've got the pace and skill of Mbappe and Dembele, but then they've got someone like Giroud who can just head home goals for days, hold the ball up, and I just think they all work really nicely together. And it's just I think it's a very scary proposition for an England back line that I think that's their weakest part of their team. The likes of Luke Shaw, Harry Maguire, probably the two weaker guy, and Pickford too. I can't trust that bloke at all. So I'm surprised I'm still surprised he's the keeper, but yeah, it seems like Southgate's just very, very loyal. Lockyes saying here that Walker is 32 though. Does he still have the pace to match Mbappe? Do you think he does, Paul?
That is a killer lead-in, let me tell you, because I've got a bet on Mr. Walker, and like I said before, like he has pace, but I mean he also gets out of position all the time. He's lucky he has the pace he has because he just gets sucked into all sorts of areas that you wouldn't want him to get into, and that's probably a problem when you're playing Kylian Mbappe. But here I'm going to take the tackles on Walker, and it's already been bashed in at a couple places. I tipped it up offshore at some ludicrous prices. It's been bashed up over there. But if you're in Europe, you can still get 3+ tackles at 2.75 at Sky Bet and 4+ at 5.5 at Sky Bet. There's no other providers, so I don't know what to say about that. It's already been mashed, but I think there's still juice in those prices. And the other one I'm taking too is Luke Shaw. 2+ tackles is pretty widely available at William Hill, Coral, Ladbrokes. And then I'm going to ladder that between 3 and 6+ tackles as well, from 3.8 up to 41 if he gets the full 6+. So go smaller, obviously, on the ladders, and then but the 2+ lines on Shaw and the 3+ line at 2.75 on Walker. And the reason I like the England fullbacks is obviously they're going to get that matchup with Dembele and Mbappe, who are key protagonists in creation of tackles. So I definitely see the fullbacks racking up some tackles. Maybe you could look at some of the wingers for tackles. I don't know exactly. Haven't looked into all the prices to know if they're value, but could look there too if England tend to drop the wingers once France are attacking. But like I said, so I'm sorry about the Walker price on that one, but I think all the prices I quoted are still value on the true price here, and the reasons being in the French heat maps in the low bottom corners. You get so many ground duels, dribbles, tackles, and touches that it just makes these bets value, especially those alternate lines. Like if they get a couple, they can just rack. And the rate that the French create at is just so impressive. And so I like the tackles here for the England fullback tackles.
All right, good stuff. Yeah, either way, it's going to be a cracking game there to finish off the quarterfinals. And sets up an interesting progression with the tournament. Sets up a clash with either Portugal or Morocco, and I don't know. Maybe it's coming home, Ryan. Maybe you can start to get excited, mate.
It's a big maybe. Yeah.
It's a big maybe. I did see that you can get quite big prices on England to win the tournament. I think if let's just say you did like England to beat France here, or you do think their value at, to qualify at 2.2, you can get them, I think, at 9s or something like that to win the tournament. So if they win this game, they suddenly go into a game versus Portugal or Morocco. They'd certainly be favoured against Morocco, you would think. And against Portugal, to me, that would look like a pretty 50-50 kind of encounter.
They'd be favorites.
Yeah,
I would assume. Potentially, yeah.
So I mean, not obviously not like a huge margin, but they would be favored by the market.
It depends. If Portugal go out and just like piece Morocco up, then maybe people would be like, "Oh, geez, these guys are actually very good." But yeah, it'd be pretty close to 50-50. Maybe England slightly favoured, and then they've got they're into the final. So I think if you like England at what price they are now, have a nibble at the outrights. I just from memory, I think I saw 9 point something for England.
That's a great way to play it, Alex. That's a great way to play it.
Oh, gee, thanks, man.
Because that'll obviously certainly shorten up. So if they get through, so I mean, yeah, that's certainly the way you'd want to look at it.
Yeah, I can see in Pinnacle they're 8.05, but I would assume on the exchanges you can probably get a little bit better. So
7.8 is on the exchanges.
Oh, okay. It's come in a little bit, but I'm sure like some of the softs that offer around 8, Pinnacle at 8 here too. So
the money's flying on the back of your suggestion.
Yeah, I know, man. I'm a footballing betting genius, as you know. Are there any other, actually, on that topic, is there any other outright bets you guys like? Anything you've looked at, Ryan, in terms, I mean, there's all sorts of outright bets you can place from, golden boot to over-under goals for each team, top team goal scorer, who's going to win, all this kind of stuff. Is there anything you've looked at recently that you liked?
I took Morocco at like 150 before the Spain game, so I've got a little bit of money on that. But they're still trading really high at like 55. And to be honest, it's not going to... If they beat Portugal, it's probably going to come into like between 20 and 30, I would say. But yeah, but it would take something. Other than that, I've not really looked too much. I think Mbappe was trading quite low for the Golden Boot. That could be a good lay. I mean, he's 1.68 at the moment, and if they get knocked out, then he's not. I would doubt that he'd win the Golden Boot. So I wouldn't mind taking that on. I think that's a little bit too short.
Yeah, you'd think Richarlison's probably the best chance of beating him. Just off the top of my head, I haven't looked at. He's on 3, and Brazil have got Croatia next, so there is a potential that he could score 1 or 2 goals, and if he does that and France get knocked out, then he probably goes into favourite. But yeah, I guess you could also, I think Bukayo Saka is on 3 goals, so if they beat France, then maybe he's a chance of getting a few more. You can also start to look. It's crazy to think you start to look at the fella Ramos from Portugal who just came out of nowhere.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
You could potentially see a scenario where he scores a few more goals against Morocco too. So yeah, what about for you, Paul? Any outrights you like at the moment?
Can't put me on the spot like that, man. I don't know. I don't have that kind of knowledge on the outrights. No, nothing for me currently on the outrights. I just not a market I would be familiar enough with.
All right, too easy, mate. We'll go on to best bets then. We'll start with you, Ryan. Out of the 4 quarterfinals, mate, what's your favorite bet?
I think taking on Argentina is probably the best bet. So like I would lay them at 2.3 or so. That's the same as back in Netherlands on the Asian handicap at 0.5. I don't know what the odds are. I can't do the inverse in my head, but yeah, I can quickly have a look actually.
2.25.
2.2. No, it must be shorter than that. Is that on?
Oh, sorry, 1.7. 1.7.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
And Paul, mate, your best bet?
Yeah, I'd chuck the money down on Enzo Fernandez there for the passes, 76 plus passes at Bovada game screen at Bet365, 1.83, Bovada game screen 1.9. Ladder him up for those higher ones. Take whatever Denise lets you get down and go from there.
That's a good one. For me, I'll go Netherlands plus a quarter, and I also like Paul's shout too. I'll steal that one from him. Over 2 goals in the Netherlands Argentina at 1.87. I think that's pretty decent too. I think an early goal there, and you'd see that one cracked wide open, especially. So yeah, we've all got our best bets in one game. That's fun for everyone. But I guess you can just have a million bets on one game and leave the others.
Oh, yeah.
I'm off to go lay Argentina there.
Yeah, good stuff, mate. We'll be back at 9 p.m. UK time on Sunday for the semi-final previews, and I believe we'll be back after that this time next week on Wednesday night. Maybe it's Thursday night. I get the times mixed up for the finals and third place preview games too. So only 2 more streams to go. So upsetting, but at least we can all rest a little bit more once it's all over. You can find these gentlemen on Twitter. You can find SM Sports Trader for Ryan, and you can find Paul at Feinting The Line, myself at @AlexVella_. Thanks to everyone for listening. As always, please make sure you do a quick rate and review of the podcast and subscribe to us wherever you listen to the podcast. And if you're looking to implement some of the strategies we talked about today on the podcast, more so the value betting ones, start a free week trial of Trademate Sports. Thanks for joining us, fellas. And enjoy the quarterfinals.
Will do, mate. Cheers.
Thanks.